Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call to order the Southwest PA Commission meeting. And I believe we do have a quorum. And are there any conflict of interest declarations on the action items?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Rainey, and I have to declare conflict of interest regarding the adoption for the 2023-2026 TIP.
Okay. And I apologize. I didn't catch the name. Mavis. So was Mavis. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mavis.
Thank you.
Before we get into the agenda items, I just want to again mention that we ask that you all keep Joe Grotta in your thoughts and prayers. Joe has moved into hospice care. And so we all want to keep him, hold him close as he makes that transition. So thank you. Are there, may I have approval of the minutes of April 25th? Is there a motion?
So motion.
Okay, I just needed, who was the second? That Jonna, is that you? Lynn, thank you, Lynn. Anything further? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes stand approved. Okay, when we move now into the public comments section, and I'll ask Shannon to look to see if there are any public comments that we'd like to manage.
Okay, good afternoon. The public comment agenda item is an opportunity for the public to address the commission. Any commission member discussion on the TIP or any other topic will take place at the appropriate agenda item. And right now, this is time set aside for us to hear from the public. We ask that everybody wishing to address the commission today either sign in on the public comment sheet outside the room or use the raise hand function in WebEx, and we'll call on you in order. I know that there's nobody signed up on the paper out there. Do we have anybody online?
This is Kirk Bredauer. I do not see anybody.
Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you, Kirk. Okay, we can proceed.
Okay, then we'll move on to item number 4, which is the public comment period response for the draft TIP. Dom?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to present the region's 2023-2026 Transportation Improvement Program. Before I move forward, first I'd like to acknowledge and thank staff from each of our member counties, the city of Pittsburgh, the PennDOT districts, and our transit agencies that all had a hand in helping us deliver this TIP. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Ryan Gordon of our staff. Ryan is the manager of our Transportation Program Development. Ryan and his staff really led us through 20 TIP work group meetings and 4 public meetings, and I thank him and appreciate his efforts on helping us to deliver this TIP. Next slide, please. Oh, we're there. Okay. I just want to talk about the schedule. In spring of summer of last year, the update began with public input via the State Transportation Commission's launch of an interactive web application to gather input on problem areas and priorities around the Commonwealth. This resulted in over 600 comments that were relevant to the SPC region. SPC, working with partners, analyzed these comments and either carried them forward into TIP development or assigned them to the most appropriate entity. The initial financial projections were developed. This is before we even knew about IIJA. SPC also held a round of public participation panel meetings to solicit input. In the fall of last year, working with partners, projects were evaluated and selected for inclusion in the draft TIP after 20 meetings, as I said. The CMAQ and transportation alternative projects were selected. We found out about the IIJA additional funds in November and revised our financial projections and guidance, and we held another round of public participation panel meetings. This spring, we have conducted the air quality and environmental justice reviews, evaluated and selected projects within our smart transportation program, and we opened a 30-day public comment period on the draft documents and held 4 public meetings and responded to comments received. Next slide. Our public engagement and input included over 600 comments we received relative to our region's projects in the State Transportation Commission's 12-year plan. The 22,000 points of engagement on our previously adopted long-range plan. And in just the 2-month May to June period, we had, the TIP story map on our website was viewed 238 times. We had 3 virtual public meetings and 1 in-person public meeting attended by 25 to 30 people for each meeting. We had 250 email and social media communications on the TIP. We attended a few of the PennDOT Connects meetings where folks talked about specific projects. We received and responded to 105 comments on the TIP, a document that all of the commissioners received prior to this meeting. And there was also very good coverage in the Post-Gazette, Tribune Review, and Observer Reporter newspapers. Next slide, please. The regional vision, along with the policies set forth in the long-range plan, guide the investments and strategies being programmed in the TIP, which is the primary implementation vehicle for the long-range plan. As you will see, the 2023-2026 TIP makes significant investments to further these policies and the regional vision. Early coordination with county and local governments during the project development process ensures the transportation investments we are making fit the needs of the community and can be viewed as assets that foster growth and economic development. Next slide, please. The draft 2023-2026 TIP also reflects investment themes that are consistent with the region's long-range plan. Investment themes like economic development, infrastructure condition, safety, efficiency, and system reliability, and multimodal option. Each TIP amends the long-range plan with updated projects, schedules, funding, and budgets. Next slide, please. Just looking at the TIP history here, there was a downward trajectory in the region's TIP base funds for highway and bridges when looking at the last 4 TIP cycles going back to 2015. With passage of the bipartisan IIJA law, the highway bridge TIP is back up to 2019 TIP levels. The additional $502 million of IIJA funds are shown in the 2023 TIP as the light blue color on the furthest right-hand blue bar chart. Next slide, please. So in total, the SBC region is investing over $6 billion in TIP and non-TIP funds in transportation infrastructure and operations in the next 4-year period. That includes $740 million in bridge maintenance, $2.2 billion in public transportation, $420 million in operations and safety projects, $640 million in projects that are within 1 mile of regional freight facilities, $428 million in transit facility and equipment improvements, $35 million in funding toward bicycle and pedestrian network multimodal options, and $186 million in buses and passenger vehicles. Next slide, please. About 41% of our 4-year TIP will go towards fixing bridges. The TIP includes design, reconstruction, or rehabilitation of 266 bridges. This reduces the total number of poor condition bridges in the region by almost 13%. With regard to paving, we have 446 miles of roadway that will be rehabilitated or rebuilt. Under public transportation, the TIP will include $383 million for fixed guideway, capital maintenance, and rail vehicles, and $181 million for bus facilities, signals, and communications equipment. Next slide, please. The TIP also includes $420 million for operations and safety projects, including $178 million for intersection improvements, $54 million for traffic signal upgrades, $180 million for safety projects, which also include projects involving improvements per the American with Disabilities Act, and $8 million for railroad crossing safety. Next slide, please. The TIP also includes efficiency and system reliability projects, $868 million for roadway and bridge projects that have transit routes on them. $163 million for projects on congested management corridors, $137 million for bus purchases, 373 new buses and shared ride vehicles. And also has funding for adaptive traffic signal systems for US 19, US 30, and SRs 8, 50, 60, and 286. Next slide, please. Notable examples of projects that will enhance our communities, promote economic vitality, and facilitate freight movement in the region include the I-376 corridor interchange improvements in Allegheny and Lawrence counties, Wilkinsburg Transit Center improvements in Allegheny County, SR 28 Goheenville Dip safety improvements in Armstrong County, Monaca Gateway corridor improvements in Beaver County, SR 228 Freedom Road corridor improvements in Butler County, Penn Avenue Smithfield Street reconstruction in the city of Pittsburgh, Cast Iron Bridge restoration in Fayette County, State Route 19 Waynesburg betterment in Greene County, Salzburg Avenue Hoodlebug Trail connection in Indiana County, Union Township sidewalk extensions in Lawrence County, State Route 88 Charleroi betterment project in Washington County, and the Laurel Valley Transportation Improvement Project in Westmoreland County. Related to economic development, again, $640 million in roadway projects within 1 mile of a freight facility, and interstate investments that include $200 million to I-70, $253 million in I-79, and $410 million to I-376. Next slide, please. And the TIP also includes an environmental justice analysis. The purpose of this analysis is to identify disproportionately high and adverse human health or environmental effects of the respective agencies' programs, policies, and activities on low-income populations and minority populations. This analysis ensures social equity in programming transportation investments, including full and fair participation by all potentially affected communities in the transportation decision-making process. Our analysis concludes that 58% of the TIP investments will be made in low-income environmental justice blocks. 51, that represents 51% of the projects. 57% of the TIP investments will be made in minority environmental justice census blocks. Our analysis concludes that there is anticipated to be no unfair allocation of burdens or benefits to communities of concern via the implementation of the 2023-2026 TIP. Next slide. Air quality conformity analysis is also part of the TIP. The EPA has designated 3 non-attainment and maintenance areas in the SPC planning region for the 8-hour ozone standard. These include the Pittsburgh Beaver Valley non-attainment area, comprised of the 7 counties of Allegheny, Armstrong, Beaver, Butler, Fayette, Washington, and Westmoreland. The Greene County maintenance area, comprised of Greene County in its entirety, and the Clearfield, Indiana maintenance area, comprised of Clearfield County, which is outside of our planning area, and Indiana County, which is within our planning area. Next slide, please. The EPA has also designated 4 non-attainment areas in the SPC planning region for the particulate matter 2.5 standard. These include the Liberty Clairton non-attainment area, comprised of 5 municipalities within Allegheny County. The Pittsburgh Beaver Valley non-attainment area, comprised of Beaver, Butler, Washington, and Westmoreland counties in their entirety, and portions of Allegheny, Armstrong, Greene, and Lawrence. The Allegheny County non-attainment area, comprised of Allegheny County in its entirety. And the Johnstown non-attainment area, comprised of portions of Indiana County within SPC's planning area, and all of Cambria County, which is in the planning area of the Johnstown NPO. The EPA has also designated the Liberty Clairton area as a maintenance area in the SPC planning region for a PM10 standard, consisting of 5 municipalities within Allegheny County. The EPA has also designated a maintenance area in the SPC planning region for carbon monoxide standard, consisting of the city of Pittsburgh's central business district and certain other high traffic density areas in and near the city's Oakland neighborhood. So With regard to this analysis, SBC staff conducted a qualitative and quantitative analysis for all of these designated non-attainment and maintenance areas within the SBC region in accordance with the applicable criteria and procedures of the Federal Clean Air Act and the Transportation Conformity Rule, and has demonstrated conformity of the 2023-2026 TIP and the 2045 Transportation Plan Amendment to the Clean Air Act. Next slide. Any questions on any of that before we have before us 3 TIP related resolutions.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Commissioner, this is Larry Shiflett.
Hi, Larry.
Hey, how's everyone? Sorry I'm not there in
Great.
person today. No questions. I just wanted to extend my sincere thanks from PennDOT to Dominic, Ryan, and Andy. It's not often you are more than halfway through a TIP update process, and you're throwing a few $100 million extra in federal funds, and you're asked to go back and retool your TIP. And I think that's evident to the professionalism that you have at SPC and the process that you have in place. So again, great job. And to the Brian Allen, Cheryl, and Bill and the districts, thank you as well. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry. I would concur. I was thinking about that earlier, that, there were some things that we had in place that allow us to respond, particularly in the area of broadband. I mean, we're talking about transportation here, but, there's so many things that we do that allow us to be in a position to respond. And certainly this is one of them. So I would concur, Larry. Thank you for addressing that. Okay. If there's nothing else, do we want to move on to take action on resolution 522 on the air quality conformity? Dominic, do you have anything else on?
Yeah, this resolution is that the commission would adopt, simply adopts the fact that adopts our analysis that the TIP conforms with the
Air quality.
Air quality.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion? Okay, we have a motion in the room. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Diana. Anything further? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries for 522. And moving on to resolution 622.
622 is the resolution where we're self-certifying our process that it follows the federal requirements.
Okay. We have a motion to approve resolution. Thank you. From Rich. Anything? Second. Thank you, Pat. Anything further? Okay, all those in favor of 722, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And the next, we have one more.
Yes, and the final
The actual TIP
resolution.
adoption.
Yep, the final resolution adopts the TIP, authorizes the submission of the TIP and its companion documents to central office and the appropriate authorities.
Okay, and we have a motion.
So moved, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a second? Second, Rich is seconding. Okay, and I would say that, we get to this point and it always seems like it's an awful lot of work that goes into this process. And within just a few moments, we vote and pass it through, but you can clearly see the amount of time it takes and the amount of effort that's gone into developing this at this point. And as Larry said, to be able to shift gears, given the additional federal money that became available. So again, we want to thank everybody for that. And if there's is there any other comments before we vote to approve? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a TIP, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I make a couple comments on the TIP now that we got it? Because it's now,
Sure.
now it's in my hands. now.
Absolutely.
Just want to give everybody a little concerning heads up here that we were so excited to get this infrastructure bill. And I'm still so excited because I'm afraid of where we would be without it. But I will tell you that the inflation
Right.
and the gas prices are really impacting our bids
Right.
to the tune of 10 to 20% right now. So don't be surprised if we're getting near the end of the year and some of these great projects that we added on because we thought we were going to have extra money may not make it out to bid. And I'm very disappointed in that because these are some of the projects that we all collectively talked about that were way in the future and we could move them back. And it's going to have a serious impact on our road and bridge network
Right.
unless something comes into, to help us out there. And just, we're not crazy. We've put this tip together with the best information we had at the time, and we're going to move forward delivering it with, as best as we can and moving things around as we have to. So please be patient with us.
Right.
A couple other things I just want to make everyone aware of too is the HSIP funds. It is imperative that the safety funds that are on this tip get delivered. We've been struggling with HSIP and CMAQ funds as a state, getting the projects to the finish line. So anybody who's in charge or responsible for them or can help us deliver them, we need to do that because that actually impacts, and Larry can talk a little bit more, that impacts the money we get from the feds. And we're having some concerns right now about getting all of the HSIP money spent. So Larry, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'll just echo what Cheryl said. If we don't deliver, and again, it's not just a SPC issue or concern, it's a statewide issue and concern. There is the possibility of penalty kicking in, which means we wouldn't get as much HSIP funds, which means SPC and others wouldn't get as much HSIP funds. So again, we just need to be really cognizant, not just the HSIP, but CMAQ as well. Cheryl mentioned the CMAQ, but right now the real, I'd say, emphasis and push is on this HSIP, the Highway Safety Improvement Program funding, and making sure we're utilizing all those funds. Obviously, safety is important to all of us. So making sure we have good projects and we're using those funds timely is important as well. And my biggest concern there is if we're not showing progress there, not only could we lose future HSIP funds, but we also may not look favorable when they're starting to look at discretionary grants that we submit for other projects, whether they're safety projects or not. Again, you never know what's the thinking is behind those that are reviewing all these grant applications that come in. But certainly when you look and see that a state's not spending all that they're getting potentially, which would be a first for us ever, then you start to question, do they actually need more funding? So anyway, it's a concern moving forward.
Cheryl and Larry, for this region, what's the hurdle? What's the problem in getting it done?
There's a lot, just like anything else. First of all, it's difficult. The HSIP projects have very specific criteria. So you may throw out a bunch of projects that you think are HSIP eligible and they're not. And we've tried to do that with some intersections and they don't meet the criteria. So that's tough. And just we're just having a ton of hurdles, roadblocks, just getting some of our projects to the finish line due to, utilities, railroads, like all kind of things that we have no control over. Those are some of the things that, we're seeing. We're trying to pick good projects and move forward with the ones that we can control. That's kind of what we're leaning towards with some of these. We provided Larry with a couple suggestions to add on this year. There's a couple projects on Route 51 in Allegheny County. We might even be able to, we're looking to see if we can use some of the safety improvements we're making to Fern Hollow as an option. So we're looking around. It's just, there's not a lot of projects that fit into this category. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, the highway safety funds, it's based, the criteria is based, it's not based on depends on how you look. It's not based on previous accidents per se, as much as it is on predictive analysis of how much less there how much less accidents or fatalities
Right.
that there will be. So just because you have a road that has, you know, an intersection that has, you know, 5 fatalities over the last 10 years doesn't mean that it's going to be eligible to spend safety dollars on that. I mean, you know, in Congress and its infinite wisdom, you know, I mean, I think you need to have a balance between the two. But that's my opinion, and that's not those aren't the rules as they stand right now. So it's yeah, as they said, it's not just us, it's everywhere, and it's not just Pennsylvania.
So somebody in the non-practical application world designed the rules.
It's not correct.
So
I
I just
would
want
say
to be
that
clear,
sure
is it,
seems like
Yeah.
it.
is it lack of applicants or is it applicants received that aren't spending?
No, what we do is, I mean, we work with the PennDOT districts and we work with the counties to submit safety projects. So there's 2 pots of safety funds. The central office has a pot, right, for the whole state that you apply to. But also we get a pot that comes specifically here. However, we can't approve those projects. We we have to propose the project. Central office has to bless them, even for our regional funds.
Right, but they don't just bless them. It's like a whole bunch of check
Well,
marks.
of
that have-
course.
yeah,
I mean,
have to
I'm
be applied.
oversimplifying it.
Yeah.
But it's even if we think it's a good safety project and it's, you know, reducing fatalities on a problem intersection, if their predictive analysis doesn't show it meets the criteria, then it's a no-go. Dom, I don't know if there's anything that you want to add to that.
And the only thing I'll add is, you know, systemic safety projects are seen in a better light than sort of intersection improvement projects. Like systemics, like, you know, curve warning signs on
Wrong way
all the
sign.
curves and wrong way signs on, you know, those type of things you can apply to an entire county are seen more favorable than a problem intersection.
Makes it difficult to spend this money. I mean, it's a lot of red tape. I mean, and also it's discouraged to spend large amounts of safety money on one project. So if you have, you know, a $10 million project that's going to improve safety, you're not going to get approved to spend the whole 10 million out of that safety pot. They want to see, you know, maybe spend 600,000, 800,000, $1 million on it, and then mix it with other funds.
Since we're having a little trouble with our equipment in the room, I saw a chat flash up from Scott Bricker, but I wasn't able to retrieve it. Scott, did you want to ask your question?
I think he asked the question that I asked, which was what was the issue? He wanted.
I'm
I think
sorry.
what I
I was trying to
catch it.
figure. I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out the equipment.
As
Yeah,
Scott
that's,
was
that's accurate. Yeah, I asked the exact same question at the exact same time.
right.
But I did have a second part, which is, what as commissioners can we do to sort of help this? So Cheryl, you asked us to be aware of this and that this is a pain point for District 11, if not, you know, the entire region. But what can we do as commissioners to kind of get some of these projects underway?
When I figure that out, Scott, I'll let you know. We just need to be cognizant of the ones we looked at them very intimately and selected ones we thought could get to the finish line on this tip. The problem is some of these older ones have rolled over multiple tips, and that doesn't look good either. So we're just trying to come up with projects that can get done timely, more quickly.
And that speaks to the, you know, the projects that are locally administered, not Cheryl or Brian or Bill's projects, but, you know, the counties, the cities. If municipalities get this federal funding, that's why it's so important to be able to deliver the projects.
So if we are participating in sort of a locally driven or a county driven process where we're looking at those projects, is there something there? Because in other words, if they're awarded, so say a municipality applies and is awarded, then what I'm hearing you say is that we need to be on top of that process to make sure that they can see that project through. But they're running into issues apparently in the midst of those projects that are holding them up.
A lot of times they're not as familiar to navigate through the issues as we are. And that's just because they don't do it every day. So, I'll have them ask for help if we see them, I think we need to be keeping up on these a lot more, checking up on them on a quarterly basis to see if they're moving. And if not, jump in. PennDOT has open-end consultants we can use. SPC has open-end consultants they can use. Throw those opportunities out there rather than let them kind of languish with these, local sponsors. That's the same as the CMAQ funds too. We have opportunities to deliver projects. We need to, everybody says, well, give us another month, give us another 3 months, we need to say, no, cut the cord and let's move forward.
We do have a modest line item in the tip to help municipalities with, like Cheryl said, we have a set of on-call consultants that we use, and they're very, very familiar with the process. So we contract them to help municipalities navigate.
We've done so already. Yeah, we've done so already, Andy, with
we've been doing it for years.
Braddock Avenue, for the Braddock Avenue Safety Project.
Yeah. But it's a limited pot of funding. I mean, we can't be setting aside millions and millions of dollars to help the local governments, because that takes away from bridge replacements and things like that. I mean, we provide workshops, we've provided funding, but we've got a
So for HSIP and CMAQ, could you do a report for the commission at each, like just even a written report, like with a red, green, yellow kind of measurement tool that tells us what status each of those HSIP and CMAQ projects are in, so that we can keep an eye on that, like a dashboard basically on those projects, Dominic, so we would know where they're at or if there's any issue that needs to be brought to our attention?
Yes, we could do that.
Yeah, I feel like that at least for our region, that CMAQ isn't as big of an issue as the safety funds.
Okay.
I mean, we're pretty good at moving CMAQ projects around. But the safety funds are I think that's the more pain point here. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Leslie, it's Lynn.
No problem. Yes, Lynn, go ahead.
I think it's such a good idea because you can't expect county commissioners to know if a project is lagging and what category it's in. And I think that really help. If they know it too, that will encourage the local county projects to move ahead more quickly.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a detailed report, just a dashboard basically that would help us understand what status each of them is in. So that would be great. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying this only because of the jail project that we're doing right now in Fayette County. We have a monthly meeting with the site manager, but wouldn't the contractors have a responsibility, or can it be built into the contracts to make sure that they're reporting back to SPC on a regular basis to let us know where everything's standing, and that way it can be set up that way?
We have bi-monthly status meetings with the locals, trying to keep track of it. But there are, I think every 6 months or something report, just so you know what's happening, wouldn't necessarily bad. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'd like to use you if the utilities are something that's causing the problem. And then you could say, hey, utility, you could maybe help out. So that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, and that's why I say even just a monthly, because then we'll be able to see what's moving from red to yellow to green. Where it is in the process. Yeah, or where we don't meet necessarily every quarter. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Good. All right. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments there that we missed? Okay. So we are on to the multimodal, or did we get all our actions in there? I think on the resolutions. Okay. Good. All right. On the multimodal project.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, in the vein of the inflation and fuel prices squeezing us, the solution is go after more money. So
get her done.
what I want to talk about is an application that we've already put in. Multimodal Project Discretionary Grant Common Application provides federal financial assistance to highway and bridge, intercity passenger rail, highway grade and separation, and so forth. Freight and multimodal. Eligible applicants are state or groups of state, MPOs, RPOs, local and tribal governments, and multi-jurisdictional group of entities. Available funding, $15 billion for 5 years period of 2022 to 2026. And in this round, $2.85 billion for 2022. Key program objectives and selection criteria are safety, state of good repair, economic impacts, freight, jobs, positive impact on the environment, equity, multimodal options and objectives, quality of life, QOL, I wrote there. Innovation areas as part of is there anything innovative that's part of the application? Project readiness and benefit cost. Those are sort of the key program objectives. We got the notice of funding opportunity on March 25th. Applications were due May 23rd, and we put together an application that involved PennDOT, District 11, and Port Authority of Allegheny County. And the application really synchronized two important corridors in our region, I-376 and the Martin Luther King Jr. East Busway. So just to tell you what was in our application, we had East Busway infrastructure improvements. There were a number of bridges on the East Busway that are in poor condition that were addressed in the application. East Busway slope stabilization, that would be stabilizing some of the problem slope areas between Grand Street and 26th Street on the East Busway. We have battery electric buses and electric bus infrastructure that were part of the application. We have I-376 active traffic management project. That's a project that includes lane changing signals and speed harmonization on the Parkway East, as well as variable speed limits depending on any incidents that occur. Wrong way detection on the ramps and so forth. It also involved the I-376 bathtub, which there's a picture on the right of that slide, on the top right hand corner. This is an area that's flooded, I think, 17. This is a portion of the Parkway East that has closed, I think, 17 or 18 times in the past few years.
Dom, it didn't have to close for 11 years, and then it had to close like 7 times in like the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think in 2018 it closed 3 or 4 times. Thank you, Cheryl. It also included I-376 hard shoulder running. That's, providing a more thicker shoulder, a wider shoulder, so the buses can run on it in the peak hours. It included arterial traffic management for 2 arterials that would be our alternative routes in case of an incident on the Parkway East. And it included sidewalks and crosswalks and pedestrian improvements on Business 22 through Wilkins Township and Monroeville. The total cost of all of this in the application was, $214 million. That's an application that, again, we put in on behalf of the region. Any questions on any of that?
I just want to make a clarification. If anybody read Ed Blazina's article in the paper, we are not ramp metering all of the Parkway East. Like every single person that has called in and has asked us, hi Andy. It is
Yeah.
just the act that this active traffic demand is to look at opportunities in case there are incidents, to relocate traffic, to possibly gate only on an incident. So please, that's, I know it's a big concern of a lot of the folks from the east.
Yeah, we received, a lot of the comments on the tip, quite a few of them were about this misunderstanding on the use of gates in the project, and we responded to them exactly how you just, what you just said there, Cheryl. The gates are not intended to be for regular ramp metering. They're intended, based on our discussion, they're intended to be for emergency use only when sort of there's an overturned truck or a hazardous spill on the parkway. Then those gates are utilized to prevent folks from going onto the parkway and into danger, and to avoid really secondary incidents related to the initial incident. So, do I got that right, Cheryl?
Correct.
So any questions on the multimodal application we submitted?
Let me, Dominic, I do this about 3 times a day myself. The Port Authority of Allegheny County no longer exists.
I'm sorry.
It is
Did
now
I say Port Authority?
Pittsburgh Regional Transit. So yes, I know. After 50 years, I think we'll all struggle with that. But yes, just for the record,
Thank
it's
you,
now
Reg.
Pittsburgh Regional Transit.
I will get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy, I know we're looking at other ones coming up too, correct?
We're looking at the bridge program. The state is putting in potentially some of the big river crossings and others in the region. I think all 3 of the districts are looking. And then we're also discussing internally for now, we're going to reach out to all the counties about locally owned bridges. We have about 350 poor condition local bridges in the region. So we're going to be reaching out to look to see if there's a potential bundle that we can put together as a region for non-state owned bridges.
The reason I wanted Andy to bring that up is we'll need the letters of support probably from a lot of the people sitting around this table and on the phone. So be prepared. Rick, get ready.
Cheryl, what's the plan for 376 for the flood to flood mitigation for?
Yeah, we actually we actually have a study that we're doing. We already started that, and we're looking at what can we do down there if you raised up the bathtub, and what does that do to the rivers and all kind of stuff like that. Is there a way to handle it that way? Is there a way to put in any type of permanent gates that automatically go down? There's actually a grant we're looking at to get that. So right now we're studying that to see what opportunities are. There's already I think 3 feet of concrete that's already down there that they roll on. It was already raised years ago, but we're seeing what options there are. The problem is there's so many things that come in there.
Right.
So you do
Right.
one, you got a whole other change
Right.
to go. We'll keep you posted on that.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further, do we, you need a motion? No, not
Madam
on that
Chair.
one. I'm sorry. Mhm.
No, that was
That's
if you recall at the last meeting, we had asked for an email vote authorizing
That's
us to move forward.
Correct.
We just wanted to circle back.
Thank you. My apologies. Okay. And one real quick, I need to jump back, Dominic, for just a moment to the tip. I wanted you just to clarify and repeat something you said about, and I think it was related to interstates on the freight project, and the number of roads that are near freight hubs. I think that you indicated. Is that the interstate money? I think you talked about.
Yes, that's the interstate money. We have.
You talked about how much was invested there, and.
Oh, no, that's all of the funding. Including interstate money. we have 640 million in roadway projects within 1 mile of a freight facility.
It's pretty significant.
Yeah.
I didn't want to miss that little detail. Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, then I guess we're ready to move on to adopting the meeting schedule for 2022 and 2023. Vincent.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And next slide,
Mhm.
please. If you look at this schedule, we're proposing to move to every other month starting in August of this
Right.
year. Primarily because I think it's respectful of people's time in terms of transit time or transportation time, and being able to have a continuing conversation through the Regional Policy Advisory Committee, our XCOM, our Executive Committee meeting and board, and then the full commission meeting in a kind of a really fulsome way. So we're proposing every other month, 3 hours. Yes, that can be brutal, but I think it's a good, efficient use of people's time. And particularly now that we're standing up the commissioner working groups, that's a very large demand on people's time, and we want to be respectful of that and set time aside for people to work on substantive issues, and as well as attend the commission meetings, the executive committee meetings, and the RPAC meetings that we'll be holding. So we're proposing August, October, December, February, April, and June for this coming cycle. And would like to move in action on a resolution 822 to adopt that schedule.
Makes great sense. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. You guys are making a great team there.
We're getting our name in the minutes.
Any further discussion on that topic? Thank you very much. I think it's a great move and makes a lot of sense to try to really move some things along and allow us to have more engaged discussion in the interim. So thank you. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any other business? And Vincent. Do you have
Just
anything else?
one piece of business I wanted to share with folks.
Okay.
Kind of in keeping with keeping SPC's profile high and getting us more actively engaged. We'll be serving on the UTC advisory committees for both CMU and Pitt for their transportation center proposals. I think you're all aware that every number of years, USDOT selects university partners for research, for specific research on different topics. They look for these partners in order to fund specific topics that they really want to see a deep dive on in terms of research. So we'll be serving on the CMU and Pitt committees in terms of developing proposals. They're working in different areas. I believe Pitt is going to be working on sustainability and resilience, which is a timely topic. And CMU is going to be working naturally enough on technology and innovative mobility. So we'll be providing them with advice on the proposals to receive this UTC federal money. So very excited about that. And it also raises the profile of the region in terms of transportation research. So looking forward to being part of that.
Well, I think we want to thank you, Vince, and the team here for the work, especially recently, and the visibility and connectivity that we have seen in the region far beyond anything we've experienced before. So I think SPC is really on a roll, and we thank you all for that incredible time and effort that you're making in making the region significant here in the country. So we certainly
Thank you,
appreciate
Madam
that.
Chair. We appreciate that. And we're going to redouble our efforts to continue in that vein. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Madam Chair, can I
Yes,
just make
ma'am.
two more comments real quick? I just wanted everyone to be aware of the mentor protege program that the department is trying to get some of the DBE small businesses included in more of our projects. So they're actually creating a fund that's going to fund the contractor to hire some of these businesses that have notoriously not done a lot of work for PennDOT. So if anybody wants more information on that, to contact me or Brian Allen or Bill Kovacs, we can provide that. We're just trying, honestly, we don't have the workforce to get all this work done. And we have to start reaching out to, new contractors and new folks in some of these underrepresented communities too. So that, and also we're doing job fairs everywhere. So anybody, all the PennDOT offices are, if anybody has any questions on that, you can send the folks, any questions to me. I can get them to where they need to be. A lot of good opportunities coming up. So I just wanted to say we're trying to reach out to some of these communities, let them know there's a lot of opportunity.
So Larry, is there some way that someone can provide that information to SBC that they can make that available to us on the new contractor and the mentoring? Is that statewide that you're, okay,
Yeah, they're going into various contracts throughout the state. And so I thought you would all be interested in that because we've spoken of that before.
yeah, I think that would be great.
Not
Thank
every
you.
contract,
Yeah,
but quite a few of them.
right, that'd be great, thank you. Okay, is there any other business and anything else anyone would like to share? Well, after, even with technical difficulties, we're gonna get out prior to 5 o'clock, so congratulations. That's pretty good. All right, if that, again, please keep Joe in your prayers, and we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Kevin.
Do a second? Did I hear the second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.